Well, how about going there?
Sure. Anything
Okay.
you want.
Eating the grasshoppers?
I'll start from the very beginning.
Okay.
I remember my daddy. He bought a. I'm not sure.
How old were you when you first went there?
I was.
Hey.
I was 9,
9.
and my sister was.
You went
7.
on board boat.
Well,
with a ship.
how we started. My dad, he quit his job, and I really think my mom is the one that was called to be a missionary, because she said from the time she went to the Bible school, she felt like she should be a missionary. But of course, then she was a teacher. She taught school in Chino, California, and her first year she taught Mexicans, and she said she had a real tough time. There's a lot of Mexicans living in Chino, and here this is the 1920, what is it, 24? 1922. There was Mexicans living in back of us, and I remember I walked to the fence. This sounds silly, but I saw a tortilla on the other side, and I would have loved to have gotten that and eaten it, and I don't think I did. But I remember that occasion anyway. But and my dad had a really nice house built right next door to my grandma Lehman's house. A really lovely home, and it was built by one of the churchmen there. And I remember building the glass handles were the glass. You've probably seen the glass in antique stores. They're very popular now. People for collectors items, glass. They had a kitchenette, a little. She had a washing machine that had a big thing here and a real small one here, and this washed, and you put it in this big little barrel.
Was it hand crank or what?
No, it was electric. Electric, but it was very one of the first electrics. But my dad, he went like this with this. Your dad.
Right.
It wasn't electric, and he had to use the arm thing. So anyway, going back to South Africa, we had this beautiful house right next to my grandma's, and my grandma lived on this side, my grandma Lehman, and she was a beautiful lady, and I loved her because that's where my dad. My grandpa, my dad's dad, was killed just a little while after Eleanor was born. She was born in 1926, and he passed away. She was born in April, and he passed away, I think it was June.
Now the house that we remember, that had the pillars in the front, that your dad and Grandma Grace, how long did they live there? Do you remember that? Because that was the house with the cellar.
Yes, that was the house with the cellar. They lived there after we moved from Palmetto. See, my Grandpa Brooks built the house after we come back from Africa. We had, quite a little.
Built that house?
Built that house in Ontario.
I know the Lehmans were in there a long, long time.
Well, this is my Grandpa Brooks.
Right, okay.
See, he built my mom's dad.
Right.
He's the one that sent us $25 a month in South Africa.
And that's what kept it going.
And that's what kept us going, because my dad didn't, he tried to get some jobs.
I know you were very, very poor.
Yes, but
Yeah.
Because we went, let me go back here. My dad bought this, I think it was a 1924, because it wasn't new, so it had to be a 1924 Hudson.
Right.
And he drove that from California to Nebraska, and this was starting in the late fall of the year. And I remember we were camping in some camps that these people were going from back east to California to escape the
the Dust Bowl.
Dust Bowl, yeah.
The Depression.
And I remember camping with them. There was a lot of people with their tents or trailer, not like we have trailers, trailer houses. But anyway, they could camp, and I remember, I guess we must have had a tent.
They made a movie like that called The Grapes of Wrath, and it was very popular movie, and it depicted that.
Yeah, and I remember for some reason, the church people gave us food before we left, and I remember my mom got this box out. It was candied walnuts. Oh, I thought they were just so good.
So how did they choose to go to Africa? What was that?
Because my dad's cousin, he lived in South Africa for many years, and for some reason, I don't know what their situation, I should have asked my dad, but he wanted somebody to come there to Africa to help him. Well, my dad thought that they were going to support him. Well, by the time we even got to New York, the banks had failed, and it started depression. And so, anyway, when we got to Nebraska, this Hudson, something went wrong with the engine, so we had to leave it. And for some reason, I don't know where this all came at, but my dad's cousin, Louis Lehman, the son of the Lehmans that lived in South Africa, their son picked us up in this Model A Ford, and it was getting cold then. And I remember they had to put alcohol in the water tank,
Right, ready to keep it from freezing.
To keep it from freezing, and oh, that smelled terrible. Then I remember going to Mitchell, South Dakota, and it was very cold.
Right.
And we went into I remember going to the post office because they had these steam heaters, and we sitting up there and getting warm. Well, anyway, we stopped at 2 or 3 schools, Bible schools, and stayed there with them. And so I don't know where my uncle, my cousin, my second cousin Louis got these models. We got these models about so big. Some were smaller, some were bigger, had scriptures on them, and they were had felt on them. And they were supposed to sell these to support them when they went to South Africa. Well, I don't think they sold very many. I mean, I don't know what happened.
So you departed from New York then to go to Africa.
Well, we went to New York. We went quite a few places before we got there. And I remember parking. We got another car. I'm not sure what kind of a car it was. My sister, my aunts had given me a doll, had given me a big doll, and they had this in this satchel. And when we got to New York, we went to this hotel, and somebody stole that big suitcase off. Anyway, we had a big trunk. We put it in the back of the truck, suitcase, 2, 3 suitcases. Anyway, we got onto the ship, and we went from New York and went to England and stayed there for a while.
Was it just a freighter, or was
No,
it a passenger?
no, it was a steam passenger ship. We got on that and went to England and stayed there for 10 days, and then from there we got another ship and went clear to South Africa, to Cape Town, and from there we got into a train and went from Cape Town to Johannesburg. And I remember, just like you were saying about going to the bathroom, you go going to the toilet. Of course, it went right down
on the tracks.
On the tracks. So anyway, we stayed at Louis Lehman's for a long time, but for some reason, Mrs. Lehman was a very, very austere. She wasn't very friendly. My mom and her didn't get along, so we didn't stay there very long. And so my dad rented a little house in Boxburg, and he stayed there. And he tried to do, my mom was the one that wanted to be the missionary. How can she be a missionary with 2 children? We didn't have any way to go anywhere. We didn't have any car. So anyway, we stayed in Boxburg, and then we stayed in Boxburg North, and my dad, I guess, did odd jobs. We made friends with some families there. And then from there we went to Boxburg. I mean, not Boxburg. We went to Hamburg, and then that's where my mom got pregnant with David, my brother. And so anyway, my brother was born in Rotherport, and we had some friends in Lakeside that lived right across the street, and she was a Baptist, and her son was a missionary in South Africa. So she was her and her husband are going to visit her son.
Talk to the camera.
So I says, bring me a map
to the camera.
of South Africa, of Transvaal.
Florence,
Yes.
talk to the camera.
Oh. I forgot.
He's thinking about it.
Anyway, I can't even talk too. What was I saying now? I forgot what
She was a missionary too.
Who?
I don't know. Rewind.
Let's see. I know about my neighbors.